Well, it's the 3rd of April 2017 and the plum blossom has come out in the last couple of days, and it's quite warm today, although it's windy. It's about 15 Celsius, but there are quite a lot of insects on this, which assuming we don't get any really hard air frost, means we might get more plums than we got last year. Plums by the thousand. And they're all beginning to fall off now, so it's time to pick them and make some plum jam. Well, it's that time of year. I've picked the best of the plums off the bottom branches. There's still mountains of plums on the tree, but these will do. And it's making jam day. Well, I collected a bucket full of plums off this tree, and it was raining today, so I've just knocked out about 50 pounds of plum jam, which will keep me going until it produces another bumper crop in about 3 years' time. Hopefully not before. Yeah, plum jam. Fantastic stuff. Lots of butterflies on the plum windfalls. I think they're all red admirals. They're a stunning butterfly. Autumn seems to be coming earlier and earlier every year. I mean, it's a nice time of year. Today it's quite warm. Because these are autumn crocuses, or colchicum. They produce a flower at this time of year, but the leaves, the big leaves, they produce them in the summer. There's a honeybee working on them now, collecting pollen. There won't be many flowers about for bees. But it is a bunny flower. They're nice. All over the lawn here, the green gages. They never do very well, these things. Whether it's too far north, I don't know. They're a small plum. Ideally, they should look like that. For some reason, they all seem to get this kind of scabby look about them. I mean, not all of them. I mean, this year there's thousands of them. I mean, it's probably... I mean, I'm probably fortunate in that there aren't many worth picking out and eating. Otherwise, I wouldn't only be making plum jam, I'd be making green gage jam as well. And the foliage hasn't been very good this year, so I suspect the tree might need some intensive care next year. A tremendous crop of apples this year. These are Bramleys, these are Cookers. And I must have taken half of them off when they were small. I don't know what I'm going to do with them all. Probably give them away. These are Cox's pippins. Normally they don't do very well, but this year, again, despite taking lots off, there's a lovely crop. They're very crisp and sweet. Well, they'll stay on for a few more weeks yet. These are Braeburn. Yeah, it's done quite well this year. I've thinned them out quite a lot. Even then, some of the branches are heavy, they're dragging on the grass. And this year, for the first time, I've got some pears. These are conference pears. There's only 7 of them. This was an apple tree. It had 3 different varieties of apple grafted onto it, none of which were very nice. I put up with it, but then it became infested with woolly aphid, so I decided that I'd cut it right back, and this is the new growth coming. We shall prune round about February time, or January, a bit earlier. Anyway, the hedge has been cut. You can see the hedge behind. This is the last of the hedges. The yew hedge is the last one to be cut. I always cut it in August. That rosemary, these green gages, plums, pears, and more yew hedge. It's nice with it being evergreen, keeps the wind away. There's been a wonderful crop of brambles this year. Still lots to go yet. There are 4 bramble bushes here. I don't know what the variety is, but it's incredibly thorny, but it's a prolific producer of brambles. But you've really got to keep on top of it. If you don't, keep cutting them back, these things like triffids will take over the whole garden in no time at all. Some of this fresh growth grows to about, well, I don't know, 10-12 feet, and where it touches the ground it roots, so it gradually spreads. Well, I say not gradually spreads, it very quickly spreads to everywhere, so you've got to keep knocking it back. And this is a thornless bramble. I've got past their best. There's still some to come. They're very big, but they're just a little bit tart. Good in pies, but not just for eating from the bush. So this is a potato patch, and they're all gone over now. So with it being nice and dry, it's a good time to pick them, dig them up. So that's the plan for the afternoon before we go fishing. These are Desiree potatoes, and a tremendous crop this year, and scab free. Previous years a number of them have had sort of scabby skins. Not that it affects the eating quality of the potato, but not really nice to look at. It's a lovely sight when you stick the fork in and turn them out, and much better than you expect. Well, that's a lovely crop from one root, from one plant. Yeah, that's really pleasing. Enough of one of those potatoes for 2 people. Well, that's a canny bucket of spuds off 3 plants, and an awful lot more to go. Fortunately they keep, they'll last me right through until April next year. Well, that's all the potatoes all cleaned off and picked. And over there, I'm just drying off on the lawn before I put them away for storage. So that's the potatoes picked. It's about average. Some years you get a lot more, but this year it's marked by a significant number of bigger spuds. That thing there is enormous. Enough for 2 people. They're much cleaner this year, not as much scab, and no evidence of blight. Occasionally I've had blight in the past, not very much. And you always leave 1 or 2 potatoes in the ground from a previous crop. You forget about them, or you don't find them, and I think these are King Edwards, I'm not sure, these white ones. So there's sort of a renegade in amongst the Desiree. Well, normally when I dig up my potatoes I get a fair number of big worms for fishing, but this year I didn't get any at all, which is a surprise. And I noticed round the edge of the potato patch there are half a dozen of these, so my big worms are obviously going to feed these moles. I don't want it to get any worse, so I'll have to see what I can do about it. Once they get into a lawn, they're a real nuisance. It's the first time I've had one. I've lived here all these years, never had moles before. Because the ground is really stony, and moles aren't very keen on stony ground. And these are the onions which I've lifted. These are, I think they were called Sturon. It just produces a handy size onion. You don't want a massive onions. And they keep very well to these. They keep for a long time, but you have to dry them off before you store them away. Get all this foliage, this green foliage dried off. So that's why they're lying here. I'll shift them to a more sheltered spot where they won't be rained on, just to finish the drying. Well, that's enough there. Keep me going for till next year. And that's the asparagus there, putting nutrients back into the roots for next year. When it all dies back, I'll chop it down. Down here are the various herbs, which this year have done amazingly well. This is dill. I'm not a great lover of it, so I only grow a small amount. You normally eat it with fish. And behind the dill there I grow a few.
I grow a few climbing French beans. They're prolific producers, these things. You're eating beans that are coming out your ears. I mean, look at them all. But you have to keep picking them, otherwise they'll stop producing them. Yes, this is this year's flower. The bees love it. There's a new. I'll take some cuttings off this, and because I've only got the one plant, and if anything happens to it, that'll be it. So I'll take some cuttings from that. And it's a very powerful herb, very strong. Usually I'd use with stuffing chicken at Christmas. And this is bay. You normally just use a leaf or two, whereas this thing is absolutely taken off. And the rosemary, again a powerful herb, very strong thing. And I've had to cut it right back. It's been growing all over the lawn. I only use a tiny amount of it. I don't use very much. And this is another herb, flat-leaf parsley. I mean, I've got curly-leaf parsley over there, but that just makes a change. It's a nice herb, parsley. You can make fish sauce with it. Parsley sauce for fish. Next to it's a rhubarb. I've been keeping this growing for years. Every now and then I dig it up and break it up, take out all the old stuff and replant the newer roots. And of course it's one of the delights of springtime is rhubarb and custard. In the spring I have an old dustbin which I put over the top of the emerging shoots, so that just to force them you get that rather more delicate rhubarb. And then of course later in the year you have to take it off, so that like the asparagus, the foliage feeds the roots for next year. I grow a couple of courgette plants, that's all you need. Again, they're a bit like French beans. Yeah. They keep producing and producing. Again, you have to keep taking them off. If you don't keep taking them off, they eventually just produce one giant marrow, which you never know what to do with. Whenever I went to harvest festivals, there was always marrows everywhere. People donated a giant marrow because they hadn't a clue what to do with it. There'll be a big crop of nuts. They're not ready yet, but there are a lot of them. This bush is heaving with them. Yeah, even the ornamental hazel, the purple hazel, is producing a big crop of nuts as well. There's just a little water feature. This is a pre-formed pond, and the birds like it. There's just a little thing at the end there, just made out of an upturned plant pot and a plant pot tray, which runs all the time, and the birds come and bathe in it. You get a tremendous variety of birds. Minor sparrowhawk knows where it is as well, so He comes swooping over the hedge there and occasionally grabs a bird off. But there's newts in here. I've tried to put frogs in, but I put frog spawn in, but I've never had any success with it. I suspect maybe the newts eat it all, or eat all the tadpoles anyway, because they don't seem to last very long. You see there the Boston ivy on the house is beginning to turn. It's a beautiful, beautiful colour. Another job at this time of year is to cut it right back, otherwise it grows all over the roof. So I chop it right back below the windowsill level. But next year it'll be up there again. This weeping ash tree, which is about 20 years old now, started off just as a sort of stick with a graft on the top. It grows a tremendous amount every year. About 6 feet, some of these new branches are. It's gradually taking over this end of the garden. And this is a spindle tree which one of my late friends brought back from France. There's little white flowers. This is the fruit, and it splits up and it has absolutely bright orange seeds inside, which look very nice in the winter time. Thousands of them. You don't often see it growing wild in this country. This is the final bit of the garden, which is been planted up with trees, all grown from seed. I just collected acorns and hazelnuts and maple wings on my travels. It's mainly oak, but there are other, as you can see by this rowan in front of me, there are other trees in here. Some silver birch there, but they grow like a weed. They'll eventually have to be taken down. It's nice just sauntering around here in the evening. A bit of peace and quiet away from the madding crowd and politics and terrorism and whatever else is going on in the world, Trumpism. And this oak tree has produced some acorns. Which shall, when they're ripe, I'll collect and plant them up. All the trees in here were grown from seed, which I've just collected round and about on my travels. Acorns, hazelnuts, maple wings, and there's the occasional rowan. Rowan produces these nice berries, which the blackbirds and starlings seem to like, and thrushes like them as well. So you get fieldfares here in the winter time from Scandinavia when the weather's bad. But it doesn't take them very long to see them off. So there's a little pathway down here, down the side, with hazel bushes on either side. It goes right round the plot. That's just along the top. But down here is a strange aberration on one of the hazel bushes. This bush has produced this sort of smaller version of itself. It's like fan-like. And it's covered with little nuts. Thousands of them. Why that should be, I have no idea, but there is a name for it. I can't think what it. I can't remember it now. Uh-oh. A delicate bunch of nuts there. This is one of the named nut trees, cultivar, which is festooned with nuts. You see the difference in size between these and that little sport up there. That's the word. I think it's called a sport. That thing growing on the side of the bush up the top end. And this thing is laden with nuts. These are just the remains of the cowslips, prolific producers of seed, and they're gradually making their way through this tussock grass. Hopefully they'll do better next year, now that huge patches of this tussock grass have been cut back. Silver birch trees. They look very nice, but they're they grow incredibly quickly. And this is just a rough patch where typical garden rubbish, and lots of nettles grow on here, which of course is a food plant for butterfly caterpillars. Mainly peacocks, red admirals and small tortoiseshell. But earlier in the year you get Jack by the hedge, which is a food plant for the orange tip butterfly, which is one of the very first butterflies of the year. And then when the wind's blowing in the right direction, I'll burn all this off. If you let the hawthorn grow, of course you end up with hawthorn berries. Shiny in this lovely late August sunshine. And when food is short in the winter time, the birds quickly demolish this lot. You don't need a fancy box for encouraging mason bees. You just need a big thick lump of wood and drill a lot of holes into it. Oh, there's one there just gone in. A mason bee. The reason for the box is that you can see what's inside the tubes. But they seem to prefer the natural wood as opposed to the plastic tubes. It just adds an interest in the garden, really. Well, that was just a quick trip around the garden for those who are interested in it.
People have been asking me from abroad. Look at the garden. But now it's storing potatoes, so I'll go and get the boxes and put these potatoes away safely in the galleys, frost free, and they'll last me through till next spring. I'll see you again. Bye bye.